A century ago, women across our province were finally able to cast their vote and make their voice heard to influence provincial politics. Today, what was considered a privilege is now a right protected under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
100 years isn't that long ago. I have, grandparents that died in their 90s. And so, that's not far from their life. And so if I think about that meant that my great-grandmothers were never able to vote.
In 1918, Mary Ellen Smith became the first woman MLA in our province. Today, women are represented in all parties, in all levels of government across our country.
The BC NDP actually is, for the first time as a provincial party, out of any provincial party running a platform, we have 51% women, which actually equals the number of women in society. So it's nice to actually see some equal representation happening.
The representation is still important for women to be able to discuss big issues in the province, like childcare, education, and employment.
We know what it looks like in our education systems. We know what it looks like to try to budget our households and pay for what our children need, and to be working parents and pay for childcare. A lot of those big issues on the table from a political platform are very important to most women. And so what we think about them and what we know about it and our voices are really valuable.
And although some women got the vote in 1917, not all women did. Not even all residents of British Columbia were able to mark their ballot.
It wasn't until 1948 that Asian men and women were allowed the right to vote, and 1960 until First Nations people were given the right to vote. So it's definitely an important first step that we need to acknowledge, but we also need to remember that it wasn't all women given the right at that time.
And while these dates all seem like lessons in a history book, voting is still an important democratic duty. For people in the Peace River South riding, it's a right that isn't being exercised as much as in other ridings.
Peace River South had the second lowest voter turnout last election in 2013. We only had 44% of the people in the region show up. So I would really encourage anybody, even if you don't like me, you don't like the Liberals, get out and mark your vote anyway.
Advanced voting opens up this weekend at the O'Brien School, and general voting day is scheduled for May 9th. Kendall Robertson, CJDC-TV News, Dawson Creek.